Today I'm going to show you how to make these brick walls here. These are actually the same object, just with only a slight change. So this is how a tutorial on how to make a destroyed brick wall in Houdini. This is very useful obviously if you want to make a lot of brick walls that are all broken, because you could easily make variations on a theme using Houdini's procedural workflow. So to start with, I'm going to hide the existing brick walls and I'll make a new geometry node. Rename this brick wall 3 and double click to dive in. Now I'm going to make a box which will be our base brick. I'm going to make it 2 by 1. Obviously this brick wall is just going to be a basic sort of standard brick wall. Now I'm going to make a grid. Make it 20 by 20. Set it to be a YZ plane. So that's like this. And then make it 21 by 11 and set it to rows, so we only get a bunch of rows that we'll copy this brick to. Now put a group range node in and call this odd rows. And set this to 1 of 2. So you can see now it's selecting every other row. Now we'll put a transform in, transform node, and transform in the Z by 1. But set it to use odd rows. And you can see we've offset everything, so it's only slightly offset. Now put a copy to points. Put the brick and copy them to the points. So now we have the bricks all in a bunch of rows like that. But we want to put a transform in and scale it down by a tiny amount. You can fiddle around with this, like this could be 9, 8, so the little bricks have a little bit of space around the outside of them. Now we can go back later and make this more randomized if we want to. This is just really for an example. Now I'm going to make it have 2 rows, so we'll put a match size. And the match size will turn this to minimum, none, none, because we don't want it to move except in the X direction where it moves the minimum edge to the 0 point. And now we'll put in an object merge and pick the match size. And put a transform node in and rotate this 180 and 80, and then put a merge and join these two together, and now we have two rows. And first I'll put a transform here and transform it up by half the height of the brick, 0.5. So now these are offset. Now we'll make a box and use this to clip the edges. So here's a box, and make a Boolean node. And set the Boolean to intersect. And there we have our brick wall. Just make a little gap in the middle here. I will push this in X. There you go. So you've got a tiny little gap there. So that none of these pieces are actually touching each other. So that's our base brick wall. And now we're going to break it using another shape. So first I'll make a curve. Set this to polygon because we don't really need it to actually be curved. We're just going to kind of make a random looking shape. And I'll make a shape that sort of looks like this. Close it. So this is going to be our cutting object, and we'll put an extrude on it. Poly extrude. And make the distance 2. Well, 3. And again, put a match size. Turn these off. So that it's now centered over the origin and lines up properly with our brick wall. Now this is the important part. We're going to get a connectivity node and attach that to our brick wall, and change the name in here to piece and turn it to primitive. So that's given all these primitives a variable depending on how they're connected together. Now we're going to get an assemble node, put that in here and hit create pack primitives. Because you've already called it piece in the connectivity node, if you turn on the primitive numbers, you can see that each one of these bricks, they all have the same number on the face, whereas previously the primitive numbers were all individually for each face. So now each one of these primitives is, each one of these bricks acts like a single primitive. So now if we group, use the group node, turn off the base group and call this delete group. and set it to primitives and use bounding regions, and instead of bounding box using a bounding object that uses this second input. Now if we put a blast in, we have to set this to points. Now if we put a blast in and use delete group, there you go. We've got the basic broken brick wall. So now that we have a broken brick wall, we're going to give it some rough edges, and this is a technique that I use a lot, and it's quite common, and it's my variation on a commonly known technique of giving things rough edges. So first we need to put in an unpack, and that sets it back so each one of these is not packed primitives anymore. Now we'll get a for each connected piece, but we'll delete the connectivity node because we don't need that. But down here we'll set this to piece. So this is now going through each brick. And I'll set it to single pass. So you can see there's only one brick being operated on here, and if you move this, it'll scroll through each brick. We do this because it's much easier to work on this way. So I'll put a null in and call this edges base. Now we need a VDB from polygons. Increase the voxel size a little bit maybe. We can adjust that later. The next thing we'll do is get a remesh and branch the remesh off like this. So we've got VDB on one side, remesh on the other. Turn the smoothing up to maximum. Set this down maybe a little bit. All this we can adjust a bit later. Now put a mountain node in. Now for the mountain node, I like to set it to min plus range length. So we want this to be a little more crinkly than this. So we'll turn the element size down a little bit. And maybe turn the noise to Perlin. And fiddle around in here. Turn the roughness up a bit. Now I'll set the rest of this up and then we can adjust this so we can see what we're doing. So next thing we need is a VDB VDB fracture. And we're going to fracture this, the VDB, and then we'll put a blast in. And this will delete so we'll name the fragment group. And just adjust these. Convert VDB back into polygons. And there you have it. The brick looks a bit rough, but that's the idea. You can fiddle around with this individually depending on how you like it to look. For example, we could make this a little bit bigger, and then it gives it a bit of a another odd shape, and so on. So now if we turn off the single pass here, it'll take a while, but now here we have a brick wall that looks a bit rough. Now the one thing that's missing is there's no mortar. So what we'll do is put a null in. And an object merge. And then use a VDB from polygons here and convert this into a VDB. You want to leave it quite large and smooth it out with no, we don't want the generic we want the VDB smooth. And we can also add a mountain to this. Oh, we need to convert it back. So convert VDB to polygons. And now the mountain works, but we'll just turn the amplitude down because we only really want it to be just kind of a little bit rough here. And So now grab all this, move it over here and merge it back together again. We have a wall. It's kind of sticking out the sides here. So we'll just grab transform. Stick it, say, here. And on the X scale, just scale it down. Looks a bit more natural. Again, you can fiddle around with this later if you want to. Now, one thing about this is we don't have any, none of these bricks have been broken in half. And that doesn't look very natural. So what we're going to do is go all the way back up here. I'm going to give this a name. Make it so that we're working back on these regular bricks, because all this here takes a while to compute. So we'll just work on the regular primitives like this, and then fiddle around with it later. So if I put an object merge in, and use the object merge to get match size 2 here. So now here we have this. I'll make that unpack visible again. So I'll put a remesh because we want a bunch more polygons, but not that many. We probably want to make this, or even bigger. Bigger than that, probably, you know, 1. There we go. There you go, just a real rough mesh. Now put a mountain. Just to give this a bunch of noise, we can increase that a bunch. Oh, maybe not that much. Maybe the remesh here, make this 0.5 again. We'll see. Put a boolean in here under the unpack. Yeah, that's worked quite well. It's chopped a bunch of the corners off. And looks a lot rougher now. Obviously you can adjust this later and see how you like it. But what we want to do is move the boolean so it's there, so it acts on each individual brick. Now, if we go back towards the end here, and we just wait a while. And there we have nearly finished wall. I'll just put some color nodes in here to make the mortar a different color, makes it a bit easy to see what's going on. So there we have a broken brick wall using a bunch of techniques that you could probably reuse on any shape. You just need to replace the base brick wall with some other series of primitives.